Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another great video that we have for you today. Today we're going to be discussing the Hippodrome. What is that? What is the Hippodrome? Well, hippo is Greek for horses and dromos is Greek for track. So the racetrack. um, but no, we'll throw some pictures up of it. The Hippodrome, or what it looked like back then. It was pretty much like the Colosseum. But, so by this time, by the 80s, by the 300 specifically, gladiatorial combat had been phased out. I guess people got bored with it. They say people weren't going to the shows as much, and chariot racing was the big new thing. Which Rome had the Colosseum, but it also had the Circus Maximus, which a lot of people don't talk about. But so Constantinople needed something to rival that, and that's where we got the Hippodrome of Constantinople. So it was a massive stadium built in the heart of the city. It existed before 330 when Constantine gave it the facelift, but it was massively expanded and connected to the Great Palace that was built in 330 for Constantine, so that the emperors could then go and support their favorite charioteers. They had like a private box that they could just go and watch. Yeah. So it was a lot like bread and circuses, keep the masses distracted, what have you. And as we talked about in our video about Belisarius, you had 4 teams that then became 2 teams. It was the blues and the greens, and then red and white. Red and white got absorbed by the blues and greens. The blues were the nobility. I'm going off the rip. Blues were the nobility class, greens were the underclass, so the emperor would always vote for the blue chariot, and both sides were sponsored by the throne. They paid for it. People would bet on it a lot, and this would cause riots. You would have your favorite team, very much like in today's world where people like soccer's a big one that they'll go riot and torch and shit, but it happens over hockey too, to a more minor extent. And as we talked about, you had the Nika riots where the Greens got sold out and slaughtered, and the Blues got money and got to go home. Very interesting. People talk about the Nika riots, but nobody ever mentions that. The poor people just got fucked, like it always is. Like, yeah, does it really ever change? Does it? But no. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So if we're discussing the Hippodrome, we are talking about a stadium where it's like a horseshoe it looks like a bike lock, kind of like a bike lock. So you have a curved side. It's like a lot like NASCAR too, but it also had a flat side where people would enter. And you had chariots, 4 teams or 2 teams, 4 teams of 2, which then eventually became 2 teams of 4. Chariots would race like NASCAR in a circle around, and there would be crashes commonly, and people would bet on it, and be this crazy thing. Something that a whole family could go enjoy. People dying, very nice. I guess people weren't being stabbed to death, but and it was also used it was also used for like gatherings, and if the king had something to say, or the emperor had something to say, people would gather there. Regular events would be happening there. So it wasn't just a racetrack, it was also kind of like the square, the heart of the city in a way. But it was 430 meters long. So I don't know what that means really. I think that's like 500 feet. We'll put up what that is in feet. 430 meters long by 120 meters wide. It could fit, depending on who you ask, from 50,000 to 100,000 people, which is weird. It's like, well, which one was it? And the Nika riots, they estimate 30,000 people were killed, which would be half of, if you would, half, the other half being blue, that'd be 60,000. They say it's up to 100,000 people, but so 60 to 100,000 people could attend. That's a lot of people every day. I think they had them every day. At least every couple days they were chariot racers. And the charioteers, just like today's sports stars, they enjoyed fame and fortune and bribes, and they would throw the race, and all of the things that are happening in today's world happened back then. Same exact stuff. Sports betting, rigging the games, everything like that. So, very interesting to talk about. and eventually it did die out too, and it wasn't like outlawed or anything, but by like the fives and six and 700s, just horse racing started to die off. People were more interested in other things, other pursuits, I guess. Like, I'm not sure, whatever they were doing back then. Maybe I'll do a video about that next. But no, I'm just kidding. So, so you had still had so you still had small chariot racing. It got smaller and smaller and smaller up until the 800s, and it just became like a communal space. In 1204, so there's like, I'm gonna put a picture up of it. There's these horses that were stolen, and I think they were stolen in World War II and taken to Germany, but they got given back to Venice. Maybe it's on the Triumph d'Arc or whatever. There's a museum they're in. There's a very famous horse statue, like two horses, charioteers. It comes from the Hippodrome. In 1204, it was taken from the Hippodrome to Venice when they looted the city, which created, schism, obviously, like we talked about. But they took the horses back to Venice, where they remain today. I think they were taken to Germany, though. But these famous horses, they were talked about a lot, if you know anything. At least in my life, they were talked about. But these horses originally came from the Hippodrome. We'll throw up a picture of them. So and then after the fall in 1453, the Hippodrome got turned to the square Sultan Ahmad Square, I think it's called. And then it was just used as a square for a gathering and whatever. Uh, you can still see there's still parts of the Hippodrome that are visible today, like the Egyptian obelisk. Yeah, the Egyptian obelisk serpent. I'll put a picture of that up. That's still there. That's from it. Um, the column walls. The column wall obelisk. So there's two obelisks that were from this that existed that are still there to this day. And then there's underground. There's like outlines of the ruins. We'll throw pictures up and everything. But obviously, there's no racing there today. It's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Muslim city called the city. Istanbul means the city, if you didn't know. Very cool. Very great. Very good. Yeah, that's the Hippodrome. You had the Nika riots that happened in the Hippodrome, which, like we talked about in our Belisarius video. Or, no, I'm sorry, in our Constantinople video. No, it was in our Belisarius video, yeah. In our Belisarius video, we talked, this is where Belisarius secured his loyalty to Justinian. There was the riots that were going on. So the horse races were getting so out of control that during one of the riots, like 10 people died, were murdered, and half the city, or a good portion of the city, were burnt down. So Justinian arrested the murderers and the arsonists and hung them. As they were hanging, the scaffolding broke and two of them fell, and they were taken to a church, but they were also rearrested. The crowd, the blue and the green, came together to demand that Justinian release them and pardon them. He didn't. He commuted their sentences to life, but didn't say. He just outright refused it when the demands were made in the Hippodrome, and that led to the Nika riots, which were like 5 days of burning the city down, 60,000 to 100,000 people, and those ended by they bribed the blues into just leaving, and then as the Greens were leaving, they barred it and slaughtered everybody, Belisarius and his underlings. So very not cool. So just the blue was wiped out, or just the green was wiped out. Sorry, the blue was fine. They got paid for their rioting, and it's like, position matters. Don't let anyone ever tell you the position that, oh, it don't matter. You can just, no, who you know matters. It matters a lot. It can open a lot of doors for you. So, yeah. But that's the Hippodrome, everybody, and the Nika riots. Something I wanted to touch on, just, kind of, you had the Colosseum for Rome, and then Constantinople had the Hippodrome. What is the Hippodrome? This is the Hippodrome. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're enjoying the videos. I'm kind of trying something new with this, where I researched for at least 2 days. I know these topics before, mostly because I want to respect and give these topics. I want to give these topics the proper respect they deserve, and I feel like I am. I really do. I feel like I'm giving you sides that nobody else is talking about, and I'm also not copying anybody's idea. I'm making sure that my video, like the last time it was done, was at least 3 months ago, and I don't watch other videos on that topic. If I have before, I can't help that I watched it before I started making YouTube, but I go out of my way to make sure I'm not copying those people. When I said my intro was actually a copy from somebody on Rumble, he's not even on YouTube, so I didn't steal it from another YouTuber. I didn't mean to steal it. I just emulate. Uh, Flattery is the bit, imitation is the biggest form of flattery. So that's what I was doing. But I hope you like the channel. Let me know if you can get over this. I don't have the best equipment, guys, so I'm the static. I'm like pulling out of a lot of it in After Effects, but you can still hear it when I'm talking. So please, if you're listening and you've listened this far, can you drop a comment below and let me know if you can even stand it? Can you get through the entire video to get to this point? I guess if no one says yes, then I'll know. But also, nobody watches these videos, so who knows? But regardless, I'm gonna keep making them. We're gonna try to do 3 of them every 2 days that I can. But yep, that's the Hippodrome, everybody. Please like, subscribe. Do notifications. And I hope you have the day you deserve.